So we'll get started on component 2. This is an overview that just helps you get jump started, helps you kind of wrap your brain around the big overview, the big picture of component 2. And I'm going to share my screen and show you how to find this on the National Board website. So when you go to nbpts.org, of course you want to click on Get Certified. It'll take you to this page. You scroll down to the Candidate Center, and this is for first time and returning candidates. So let's go here. Now, if you scroll down, you'll find component. You have to scroll down, sorry, to, I'm just gonna choose a certificate area out of the air. Let's just do English Language Arts, and I'll just choose a developmental level. It's not important which one I choose. You'll choose your own, of course. And then what happens when you choose one is then you get these options, and I'll click on component 2. And then this zip file comes up. And if I had clicked on, 3 or 4, same thing would have happened, a zip file. And then when you open that, you will see, let me stop the share for just a minute. I just want to be sure my screen is sharing the correct page. Yes, so let's open, and what happens is you see forms and things here, but you want to go to the PDF. So let me click on the PDF. Okay, so I'll get, just in case you're trying to follow along, I'll give you a minute. You can stop the video. You can go to nbpts.org, find your certificate area, go to component 2, and open up that zip file. Okay, so now that this is open, I'm going to show you just what it looks like. You have your portfolio instructions, your scoring rubric. This is so very important. Each component has a title, and component 2 is differentiation in instruction. So here you're going to be showcasing or providing evidence to the assessors of your ability to meet the National Board standards for differentiation in instruction. So really, really important. You're showing here that you differentiate in order to provide access and equity for all of your students. And typically, this component, no matter what certificate area you're doing, it's going to ask you to focus on just 1 or 2 students. So your directions will tell you how many students. Some certificate areas have you focus on 1 student, and you show how you really differentiate to provide for that student's needs. And some certificates will have you choose 2 students who present different needs to you. So let's look and see. Scroll on down, and you have an overview here. You'll have this in your own. Highlight your ability to evaluate learning strengths and needs for individual students, plan and implement differentiated instruction, analyze your strategies based on ongoing assessment, okay? And of course, everything is aligned. There's rubric, and everything is aligned to the 5 core propositions and your standards, as we know. And so this part gives you an overview. 4 student work samples from 2 students. Yours may be different. 2 samples are responses to print and non-print text, and 2 are responses to writing prompts. So tons and tons of information here. I'm going to stop the share briefly, and I'm going to show you how to use that document that I just opened, and that I hope you stopped the video and opened up your own. And now I'm going to share a different document, a little worksheet, thinking sheet that we will provide you with, and this is your planner. So your component 2 planner, of course, the title is differentiation and instruction. And then you're going to want to immediately, you want to know what standards you're going to be scored on. So the assessors are using certain standards to assess you, and let's see what they are. So I'll stop the share. I'll go back to this other document, and I'll show you where to find the standards right here. Standards measured by component 2. And you'll have a list of those in your own as well. And so what I would do is copy this, and paste it into this other document. And so that's your standard. They all have a number, Roman numeral, and then they have a title, okay? So you want to do that. You want to know exactly which standards right off the bat that they're going to be scoring you on. And then here's this other section in your planner. Let's see. So you're going to scroll down. Okay, so we want to then, once we know the standards, how are we going to set up our written commentary and how many pages are suggested for each? Well, stop that share and I'll go back to this other document and I'll just find out. So let's go down to composing the written commentary. There's lots of stuff here. You of course won't skip this forever. There'll be a time you'll go back and read all this, but for now, remember, we're just getting the overview of this. So there's a written commentary, and there are 3 headings. Now, you absolutely have to. It says create a word processing document, not a Google Doc. This has to be done in Word, and you're going to compose your commentary. You enter the following section headings in the document. There are 3, okay? This is key. Do not submit to the National Board a document that does not have these headings. When the National Board tells you to enter the section headings in a Word document, that is exactly what they mean. So we have instructional context, analysis of student work, and reflection. Okay, and then if you scroll on down, they'll tell you that, no more than 13 pages, but they give you suggestions for each of the suggested page lengths for each section. So instructional context, 1 page. I strongly advise you to follow these page lengths. Analysis of student work, 10 pages. Remember, you chose 2 students to showcase, so that's 5 pages for each student. If you do 3 for one, 7 for the other, no, 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 no. You do 10 pages total, 5 for each student. And then they tell you how to label your sections here. So for each student, you're gonna answer the questions labeled in separate sections. The student is reader, the student is writer. So big takeaway here is follow the National Board directions to the T. And this planner is designed to help you do that. So let's go back to the planner just for now. So what we know so far is 3 headings. Remember, instructional context, and I forget what the others were, but that's what you would put here. Instructional context, 1 page, whatever the other one was called, 10 pages. And you might want to put in parentheses 5 per student, okay? You want to follow those to the T. And then you want to remember these standards up here. So you listed your standards and the title. You want to be sure that you include all of these standards in your written commentary. So once you know what the standards are and what the sections of the commentary are, then you want to say to yourself, okay, here are my subheadings, instructional context, and the other 2. Where am I going to provide evidence of those standards that I listed up here because they all have to be included. So in your planner, you're going to put where you will include evidence for each one. So you may have a standard that you're going to include evidence for in more than one section. But the key is, and the reason we ask you to do this is so that you don't finish the whole written commentary and realize, oh, I totally left out 2 standards. No, you're going to plan for that ahead of time. You're going to be sure you know exactly where you're going to put those standards. So then if you keep going in this document, what's your total page length? Remember, it was 13 for this one. For this one, now yours may be different. How many students? For this one, it's 2. How many work samples per student? It was 4. Nature of the work samples. Well, remember there was print and non-print and reading and responding to prompts. So that's the what you would put here to keep yourself on track. There will be a length of time period from which the work is drawn. There'll be italicized questions, and then you need to start thinking, okay, what students will I feature? I have to choose 2, and they need to be different because I want to show how I differentiate. So they need to provide different challenges to me. So start thinking about who those students might be. You probably are going to want to list maybe double the students that you need in case someone moves away or in case you can't collect work samples from that student, from one of the students for some reason. So you want to choose a few, more than you need, start collecting work from the students, and then you won't be put in a situation where all of a sudden you don't know, you don't have student work and you need it. So let's go back to this other document and I'll show you where you can find the answers to some of these questions. So remember the italicized questions, they're right here. You answer these. Under each subheading, there are questions for you to answer. Don't skip these. These questions are aligned to the architecture of accomplished teaching. If you answer these questions in order, you'll be sticking to the architecture of accomplished teaching, and you'll be presenting evidence of the 5 core propositions and the standards as well. 2 pages for the reflection. You'll see a lot about goals. Your reflection is totally about your goals, okay? And then up here, you see more about goals. Goals are so important. We'll talk a lot about that throughout our work on component 2 with you, and your support provider, your National Board Certified support provider will be asking you, what are your goals? I want to see your goals in writing to be sure that they're actually goals, high worthwhile goals, and not just activities or discrete skills. They have to be goals. So I've just shown you where to go to find the document on the website and then what your planner looks like. So that's an overview. And once you have done this yourself, once you have found your own document on the National Board website, read through it closely and use it to fill out that planner, you'll have a nice big overview and understanding of what you do in component 2. And you really need that. You need to see that big picture before you start really doing a deep dive into the tiny details. So that's the overview that will get you jump started on component 2.